Hello. So, been a while since I did a book review, but yeah, back for another book review. This time, Alif the Unseen by Willow Wilson. Uh, this was Wilson's first prose novel. Though she'd done plenty of writing, she'd done some comic work before this. She'd done some journalism, so she was not new to writing. But this was her first prose novel, and it she got off to a pretty good start because it actually won a World Fantasy Award for Best Novel. Also got nominated for a Locus Award for Best First Novel. Nominated for Hammett Prize, John W. Campbell Memorial Award, Grand Prix de l'Imaginaire for Best Foreign Novel, Women's Prize for Fiction, Center for Fiction First Novel Prize. So yeah, got a lot of praise, a lot of award nominations, a lot of praise. So she did get off to a very good start with her prose career. Though, like I said, she'd already had a couple of some pretty critically acclaimed comic book work as well. And it is a very good book. It's really good. So the it is set in an unnamed fictional Middle Eastern country. A security state on the verge of revolution. I should mention this did come out in 2012. So there was obviously kind of a lot of sort of stuff going on in that region at the time. A lot of sort of political unrest. The main character is his real name we do find out right near the end of the book. So we do find out what his real name actually is very near the end. I won't actually say what it is. But he goes by Alif. He's a hacker. He goes by Alif, which of course is the first letter of the Arabic alphabet. It's a very simple, basic name. That is like his hacker name, and that is what people he meets. That is what multiple people that he knows in person call him. So that's what he goes by. He sort of accidentally creates a computer program that basically blocks his ex-girlfriend from having any access to him. So yeah, at the start of the book, he's in love with a girl who then tells him that she's getting married. He's devastated, so he sort of develops a program which shouldn't actually work, which somehow manages to just completely hide her digital presence from him entirely. That way he won't be sort of tempted to get back in contact with her. She ends up passing along a book to him. The book is sort of an otherworldly alternative to the Thousand and One Nights, which you have heard of. I mean, the Thousand and One Nights is, of course, the so the Alf Yum. So the Thousand and One Nights, obviously, I mean, I'm sure you've heard of that one. It is an extremely extremely well-known work of Arabic fiction. This one is sort of the Alif is sort of an otherworldly mirror to that for the world of jinn and other mystical creatures, which are a definite presence in here. So yeah, there's jinn, there's a Vitala, which is a vampire, a Sela. So yeah, so jinn are, you know what they are. They are sort of mystical creatures. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, often pretty neutral. They are a huge presence in this book, as Alif and his neighbor, Dina, as they sort of get caught up in that world, while trying to hide from the security, state security, state police, who are hunting for Alif, because of the fact that he does have the Alfeum. I assume that's how it's pronounced. Doesn't really have a pronunciation guide. Does have a glossary at the back, because there's a lot of Arabic terms that are used. So it does have a glossary for a lot of the Arabic terms that get used, especially some of the ones that get used commonly, just so that people know what they are, just so that people like me can follow along. And yeah, things just sort of get more and more complicated as it gets along, with Alif being pursued by police and getting involved with jinn and having to look out for Dina, the girl that that was his neighbor and childhood friend, who's kind of got her shit together way better than he does. But he still obviously feels obligated to look out for her. They get tied up with an American woman who has converted to Islam. There's an imam who gets caught up in it. One of Alif's hacker friends gets caught up in it later on. So a lot of complicated. So a lot of the characters getting drawn into all the drama. Couple of bits that are sort of, there's a couple of sort of connections here and there that are maybe a little bit contrived, but it's fiction, so it's fine. And it does kind of work for the story. Like it does kind of fit the story, because it's almost a story about story, because this is kind of, to a certain extent, a story about stories. So having certain characters have unexpected connections, it makes sense. There's also a lot of sort of computer stuff in there. There's a lot of exploration of computer science. There's sort of exploration of desires for freedom and sort of anti-authoritarian stuff in there, and does also touch on the unpredictability, I guess, of not even unpredictability really, the violence of revolution, the uncontrollable nature of revolutions, and the fact that once they start, they don't necessarily, the people involved don't always necessarily care if someone was actually directly involved in the oppression. They will just kill anyone who belongs to a certain class, regardless of whether they were, regardless of whether they actually did anything wrong. So, a little bit of stuff like that. And yeah, it's great. It does sometimes feel like it drags a little bit. Does sometimes feel a little bloated at times. But for the most part, the story moves along briskly. The prose is great. Wilson just has like great writing style, so it's like really good prose. Very descriptive. Wilson, of course, is best known for Ms. Marvel, the Kamala Khan, the current Ms. Marvel, created in 2014, so a couple years after this. So yeah, that is what Wilson is absolutely best known for. She's worked on other comics. She's done Wonder Woman. She's, I think, currently doing a very critically acclaimed run on Poison Ivy, which was initially a miniseries that got turned into an ongoing, just because of the reception to it. So yeah, she's well known for a lot of comic stuff. She's really successful comic book writer. She does have a second novel that came out in 2019, The Bird King. So that's one that I will probably want to read at some point. My love of Ms. Marvel is why I did pick up Alif, because I do really, really like, I did really enjoy her run on Ms. Marvel. And yeah, I was very much not disappointed. I was, went into this thoroughly expecting to enjoy it, and I did, in fact, quite thoroughly enjoy it. So I definitely recommend it. It's really interesting. I really like I do like how it's sort of a fictional, unnamed and fictionalized country. It gives a certain some storybook. I don't know. It just sort of gives a different vibe to the events, and yeah, I always enjoy, especially fantasy, because this is very much a sort of, it's definitely got a bit of fantasy. Like, it's definitely a fantasy thing to book. A little bit of cyberpunk, a little bit of fantasy, especially magical realism. So yeah, I definitely enjoy whenever fantasy books sort of come from cultures that I am not terribly familiar with. It's interesting seeing how how people from other places, sort of other cultures, interact, I guess, with fantasy. So yeah, so that's definitely I recommend it. Next book I read is going to be graphic novel The Witch Boy by Molly Knox Ostertag, who I don't think actually. I forget if they still go by. Oh yeah, it does still go by that name. All right, is the spec. So yeah, by Molly Knox Ostertag. So, um, who I do really like. Uh, she was she did the she drew the webcomic Strong Female Protagonist for a while. Sadly, that one is seems to be on a permanent hiatus. I guess because she has gotten she's been busy with better paying work. But yeah, so this will be the next thing that I read, just a graphic novel. But for now, yeah, Alif the Unseen. Great book. Very much recommend it. And I will see you in another video.